I just feel like if a man invites me to his house on a first date or drinks on a first date, which those are not really dates, God forbid coffee, I just feel like he hates me and wants me to die. Is kind of just like how I take that. Personally, the men are walking around thinking that every girl will accept that. So stop. As a collective, we need to stop accepting the bare minimum because it's really skewing the numbers for the bad bitches, okay? Welcome back to another episode of the Stella Herself podcast, y'all. I'm actually filming a work week in my life vlog, which is so cute. So I'm gonna do a little time lapse of me recording. It's Virgo season now. Do y'all feel in your anxiety, organized, critical bag? Because I know I do. But yeah, Mercury retrograde is over as of this podcast going live. So thank God. Let me know what some of your realizations are. Did you have any retrograde mishaps? And what are your main takeaways? So my main takeaway, and I feel like this idea has been kind of forming in my mind for the past little while, but retrograde really solidified it for me. And that is that you cannot live in your emotions and act upon your emotions all the time. It's so true. You know, when you follow these therapist pages and are just reading the self-help books and watching the videos and whatnot. It's really true that emotions are a tool, but they should not be 100% how you make your decisions. And I say 100% because it's not like you shouldn't listen to your emotions at all, but you need to have some time in between feeling what you feel and then actually acting. You know, if you act on impulse, for example, if you feel angry about something and you want to hit somebody, don't hit them unless it's self-defense. Circumstantial. But, notice that you're feeling angry, or I think it was last week or a couple weeks ago, I was talking about friend groups and when you're friends with kind of some mean girls and they start turning on you and they start kind of making you angry, and sometimes it'll be little things make you angry and you're like, I'm overreacting, but it's really just that built up over time emotion, and it's telling you that something's not right. So you can listen to that and take that into consideration and notice it, oh, that makes me angry, let's dissect why, and then your action can be the next logical step to what it is that you take away from why you felt that emotion. So you cannot live in your emotions all the time. If you're constantly stressed out, constantly frazzled, constantly oh my God, what am I gonna do? Or oh my, that's not a way to live and that's not productive. So I am not advocating for shutting your emotions off or becoming numb or ignoring them. That's going to lead to just more physical symptoms of stress and just a dysregulated nervous system. That's why people have panic attacks. Gonna come out. You're gonna get a stress rash. You're gonna not be able to sleep. Your stomach's gonna hurt all the time. You're gonna get headaches. You're gonna have IBS. All of these issues people have, so much of it is because we're not taught how to regulate our emotions and our nervous systems. And we live in a society that just isn't that doesn't make it easy for us to do that. So it's really important to be in tune with your body. And I think thinking of it that way, okay, this is my body trying to tell me something and let me listen to my body. That for me has helped so much, especially with anxiety. I have a Virgo moon, so if you're a Virgo, I feel y'all. But Virgos are very the stereotype is anxiety, worrying, oh my God, and perfectionism and just being critical of yourself and of others. So I definitely feel that. But something that has helped me almost also distinguish between anxiety and my intuition is just, if I feel those symptoms, I'll tune in and be okay, what are you trying to tell me? And I almost think of my body and those physical things that I'll feel as something separate from myself, because it is, it's that's your body, that's an animal. like, you know, if your dog is like panting a lot, or like if your cat like does something that's kind of like unusual and you're like, are you good? It's like you kind of have to like figure it out, because you can't just like ask them like, yo, what's going on? Imagine. So you kind of have to do that for yourself as well when you're feeling these things, or like if someone says something to you and like you just will like feel it in your stomach, or like, you know, you start sweating, or like you feel super tense all of a sudden. It's like you got to be like, yo, like what's going on? And the more you practice doing that, the easier it gets. Because at first, it might be like the next day you realize like, oh, when that happened, my body felt like this. And then you can just like become more and more mindful and aware of it. So even in the moment, you can recognize it and catch it and be like, what do I need to do? Like, what are you trying to tell me? And people ask, you know, me, and just in general, I feel like it's a very common question. Like, how do you distinguish anxiety and, you know, like worrying from intuition? And I feel like just tuning into your body and like asking it, like, what are you trying to tell me, helps so much. At least for me, that really helped, because I'm just able to tell, like, and then when I do feel anxious, I'm able to tell my body like, no, you're fine, like you can relax. So as far as just with life, it's like if you feel like you're spiraling out of control, or you're just very upset, or you're very unhappy with your current circumstances, it's, you know, important to recognize how those current things are making you feel, and like how they're affecting your emotions and your quality of life and all of that. So you kind of have to have some separation in your mind to where you lock into your logical side and make a plan, because that is where you're actually going to see change and how you can get yourself out of a situation. You can't sit around and wait for someone to save you, or for someone else to make a change for you, or for someone else to kind of give you permission even to make a change in your life. You have to be the one to do that. So many things feel so overwhelming. And, you know, whether it's like making a career change, or maybe you just want to try something new and you're like, I'm kind of scared. But when you make the logical plan and you just stick to your plan, you know, when you're feeling kind of like in your head about it, or anxious about it, or worried, or whatever, or if you're doubting yourself, you can just come back to that solid foundation of, okay, I have a plan though. And it just kind of like steadies things out. This also works for relationships. If you have a crush on a guy and you can kind of tell he's maybe a little bit of a dusty, or a little bit of a player, or he's trying to sweet talk you, part of you might feel like good, you know, like it's like, oh, I'm attracted to this guy, he knows the right things to say, even though maybe he's done nothing, like his actions don't prove that he's trying to take you serious, or that he really likes you, like he's just kind of trying to get in the bed with you, you know. But part of you might think like, oh my god, like you kind of get in your feelings a little bit, you're like attracted to him, and it's like, oh my god, but like I don't know, it could be different. But you need to, again, separate, lock in to the logical part of your brain, be like, okay, if I do this, if I sleep with him, this is gonna happen. If I don't, this is gonna happen. You know, it's like make a flowchart for this, because emotions are not logic. Emotions are tools. Emotions are important to process and feel, and they can tell us a lot about if we're okay with something, or how something is affecting us. How would you know you were in the wrong situation if you couldn't feel that you were, you know? You need to have that logical side of your brain turned on. And you know, they always say like men are the more logical sex. I honestly, and I know like a lot of you agree, I feel like women are. If you can control your emotions, and I really hate to even say this, like I would never have said this like a few years ago, like the stereotype of women are more emotional. I would be like, no, they're not. Like men are just as emotional, and I think men are, but I mean men and women honestly both really let their emotions get out of control. And just kind of seeing how a lot of women deal react when it comes to men and dating and relationships, and a guy acting out or treating them bad, like a lot of women do act way too emotional and not in their logical brain. Sometimes it's just like, I think this girl is a dum-dum. Like, no offense, but like, damn. And then other times it's like, I mean, both also can be true, but it's like, sometimes a girlie is like in a trauma bond, and the chemical, like physical addiction is so strong that like you don't even realize how deep you are in it, because it just like your feelings are so like, that's like a real thing. But my point is like, women will get in our emotions and cling on to like a little crumb and like, I hope he can change, maybe he can change, like I just care about him so much, I care about his future so much, I'm just like, I want to see, like, oh my god, I love him so much. But meanwhile, if the roles were reversed, that guy would be out of there, you know, because they put themselves first and are logical in that way, again, for the most part. But I just think it's kind of shocking, I think, especially as we get older, to see some women still act like they're a teenager when it comes to these guys and just be way too in their emotions and like not think logically about what they're actually doing. And then especially if they have kids with a guy and getting the kids involved, it's like, you're just ruining your kid's life. Like, oh my god. But a woman that knows this and that is in control of her emotions, way more logical and smarter than a man, because a man is always going to be controlled by lust and like physical and sexual attraction, you know? And I feel like, you know, some women are like that, but just with a man, it's like different. So use that to your advantage and get in control of your emotions, because otherwise you could really ruin your life. And that's literally why people ruin their lives all the time, is they crash out, and also, I feel like crashing out, the term has been used a little too lightly. Like, to me, that's not like, oh my god, and like I posted on IG Create and like tagged someone, like I'm crashing out. I did a rant on my IG story, I'm crashing out. Like, to me, crashing out is like doing the most, and like crashing a car into someone's house and like going to jail would like be what I would think of if someone's like, I'm gonna crash out. Like doing something like in real life. I'm gonna crash out, and you like literally post a rant on your Instagram story. That's not like, okay, you got a little upset, like. So get in control of your emotions, seriously, for your life, for your relationships, just for yourself, for your quality of life. It's so important to get ahead of that, because you do not want to let your emotions run the show. Making a plan is the best thing that you can do. Seriously. Also, just quick little like side note rant. I feel like it can be so frustrating to date men, because so often it's not like, oh, like let's just see if we're compatible. It's like, let's see if you're psychotic and secretly hate women and are gonna kill me, you know? And so it just really makes it difficult. Because already just in friendships, you know, it's like, let's see if we're just compatible, like to even just be around each other. And then when you date men, it's like, literally, are you going to be annoying? Like, are you going to threaten me? Are you going to like ruin my life? Let me know if you relate. But I feel almost just like disappointed in society, you know? Because it's like, you grow up with all these love stories and romance, and like, this is how life is going to be. You're going to meet your soulmate, the love of your life, and live happily ever after. And like, it's really sold to us heavy as women. It just feels like such a scam, because even with marriage, it's like, I will hear even my friends talk about wanting to get married and like, oh my god, my friend got engaged. Like, oh my god, like everyone's getting engaged. And I heard this quote once that was like, women see getting married as the start of their life, but men kind of see it as like almost like the end. Like, they're wrapping things up. They're like, okay, like I'm settling down, like I can chill now. And women are like, I'm just getting started. You know, shout out to everyone with a healthy marriage, but I think that's very, very rare, like if we're actually looking at it. Because also a lot of people are just like, they don't actually want to talk about like how hard it is. But yeah, I've talked about that before, where like y'all have seen the tweets like, I can't wait until Super Bowl Sunday and my husband and my kids, like, oh my god, by next year I'm gonna have a fiance. I think a lot of it just has to do with society and just exactly what I talked about last week as far as like marriage goes. And I think just with, you know, women having way more options and the choice to decide whether or not we get married, you know, the option to have our own careers and homes and bank accounts and all this stuff, it's like, you just kind of realize how lame so many of these guys are. And it's like, what would I literally gain from like attaching myself to you? Even when it comes to like sleeping with guys, I've talked about that this year too, more women are, you know, choosing to be celibate, because it's also like, okay, this guy's not even gonna be able to make me, like, reach what I need to reach, achieve what I need to achieve, if you know what I mean. So it's like, what do I literally gain? Like, hookup culture, it's just like, get it together. It is so rare that a man truly impresses me, like, genuinely. Sometimes there'll be like bits and pieces, but I don't think I've ever truly been impressed by a man. It's not that hard. Like, I impress myself all the time, my friends impress me, and it's just like, you know, with like being thoughtful, planning things out. Grandma's not mad, grandma's just disappointed. What really needs to change, bro? And shout out to all the girlies that are like in a relationship where their man treats them like how they deserve, like a queen. I've been kind of lightly rewatching Sex and the City from the beginning here and there. Like, I'm not watching it regularly. When I'm in the mood, I'll put it on, and I think I'm around like the second season. And their whole thing is like, they want to get married, or, you know, most of them want to get married so bad, and it's like, oh my god, it's so hard for a 30-something-year-old woman to like get married. None of these 30-something-year-old guys like want to settle down. And it's like, I kind of feel like, and I don't know if this is like we're in a bubble, like you and me, because you're in the bubble too if you're listening to this, you know, or if it's just literally society. Like, I think it is personally, and I'm not in my 30s yet, but it's like, I don't feel like, oh my god, there's all these guys, eligible guys walking around, like, why won't they like, that's kind of the vibe these women have, where it's like, oh my god, like, why won't these guys pick me to settle down? And it's like, I feel like I'm walking around like there's nobody I would want to settle down with. Like, all of you guys are lame, disappointing, gross. I'm like, please don't, you ain't gonna tie me down, you know, like, stop. I do not want to be tied down to any of these little guys, like, ew. And it's just so funny, because it's like, the more I level up, the more I feel that, which I think is a good thing. Having high standards does limit your options, but it's like for the best. Like, you're preventing so much trauma and just like stupid BS and wastes of time. But I also think it's so funny, because literally anywhere I go, I could literally leave my house right now and just walk to the end of the street. Somebody will be trying to talk to me, looking at me, catcalling me. Anywhere I go, someone's staring at me, again, trying to hit on me. So I just always have that in my mind. I'm like, whoever actually, you know, wants to tie it down, you gotta be ready for that. Face card alone. So that's why whenever a guy asks me what my type is, I tell them someone impressive. I say, I like men that impress me. It doesn't really truly give them an answer, but it gives them like a feeling. And so they'll be pulling out all the tips and tricks to try to impress you. So that's what you need to do. Also, great little hack for you guys. I talked about this on my TikTok live a little bit, but this past weekend, if y'all watched my recent vlog from last week, it was an interesting night, to say the least. I was assaulted, like, like, literally. Watch the vlog. Like, I don't feel traumatized. It was mostly just like odd, but you know, you live and you experience things. So we had started at this one party where this guy that I know, he like throws parties, and he was like giving out roses, like single roses to the bitches. I don't know. And so he gave me one, and I was just carrying the rose around because it like went with my outfit, and it was cute. Like, who doesn't want a flower? Like, honestly, great little strategy he had with that. So we left that party, and we're just kind of like, we went to another spot, and then we went to get food, and then we walked to like meet up with my other friend. So I'm just like carrying this rose around. Y'all, the amount of guys that would comment about the rose or say something about the rose or be triggered by the rose. Everyone from bouncers to random bros in the bar. Not the bar where we started at, because like every girl in there had a rose pretty much, you know. But like when we went to the other bar, the random guys working at the pizza shop, everyone had something to say about this rose. And I even posted it on my story, and I had bros that I know messaging me like, who gave you that? And that's what everyone was saying, like, who gave you that? Where did you get that? Like, what guy gave that to you? So what I would say is like, why? Like, are you gonna get me 100 more? Are you gonna get me a bigger bouquet? But it was just very interesting that it brought out that competitiveness, because I'm just carrying it and I'm like, this isn't like a big impressive bouquet. Like this is just literally a single white rose. It wasn't even a red rose. And the guys were triggered. Like, it was not just one or two guys. It was like everywhere we went, multiple guys like commenting on it. So if you want to start, like, have a good conversation starter, just get yourself a little single rose and carry it around on your next night out. It will die by the end of the night. And then when I was assaulted, the rose snapped. So kind of sad. I didn't expect that because I didn't carry it around to be like, I want people to think, like, I was holding it because it was like, duh, like, I'm a little girly girl holding a flower, like, duh. But yeah, so would definitely recommend that if you want a good conversation starter for a night out, and if you want the bros to be triggered and get a little competitive and try to impress you more. When your crush likes your story. Yeah! Logic. Somebody on IG asked how to detect negging from guys. So that's kind of like the date that I talked about most recently. I forget if that was in the last episode. But negging is when a guy will purposely say little things to try to get you to crack, basically, to make you insecure, to put you down. So you just need to do what I tell y'all to do, and that you cannot take anything a guy says seriously. Look at his actions. But it's kind of like Buddhism, honestly. Attachment, you know? You can't really be attached to anything in life because everything always changes, things come and go, and attachment is the root of suffering, right? So you cannot listen to what a man says because if it's good, he could take that away and you're going to be suffering. If it's bad, you're just going to be suffering because you're like, and it's just true with people's opinions, especially if you're an artist or a creative. If you really take to heart people's positive thoughts about you, if you really take to heart negative things people have to say, like, it's a lose-lose. So you have to just remain steady within yourself. And I think this is just so important as a woman when dating because it will help you adhere and stick to your high standards. And you won't take it personally. So y'all, like, will you get the limes? He was kind of trying to make me insecure, if you guys remember that story time. And I realized I told that full story time actually in a vlog. It was not even a podcast. It was like a vlog. But he was like saying little things like, well, my ex was a model, like actually a model, like as if that would make me insecure. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, that's not gonna make me insecure because I know that I'm hot and beautiful. And I'm not, like, trying to say I'm hotter or beautiful than anyone. Like, this girl could have been prettier than me by, like, for all I know. But I don't care. Because it doesn't affect me. And, like, why would I care about you, a random I just met, what you had to say? The most recent date story time, you know? The most recent bad date story time, should we say. Literally trying to criticize me the whole time. And, like, just... he was, like, being literally rude. Like, sorry, but, like, I'm not taking that personally or to heart literally at all. Like, I'm just literally like, oh, this is the type of guy you are where you think this works and this is how you get girls is because you want to make them feel insecure. Like, you know, you have to, like, again, take your emotions out of it. Don't take it personally and think logically. Like, whoever does that is a dweeb and I don't respect you or your opinion. You think I want to date a man that's gonna bully me? You know how embarrassing that is? Yeah, this is my man. He puts me down constantly, makes me feel insecure, or like tries to. No. So you're already losing, buddy. Like, it's not gonna happen. How to detect it? Just, you don't take anything they say seriously, and you wait for their actions to prove. Because if they're over complimenting you and like, oh my god, you're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. I've never felt like this around any woman. Like, oh my god, I've never, like, taken a woman to a restaurant this nice. Bro, it's like, I don't give a shit. Like, they're just trying to get you in the bed. You know, they're trying to sweet talk you. But if they're, like, doing the opposite, trying to neg you, it's like, you're just a dweeb. Like, you obviously don't get women. You're insecure. You have issues. You're not making any money. Like, just, this sounds like a you problem, babes. I'm gonna excuse myself from this situation. Is that a guide on how to detect negging? Let me know if you have any tips down below. Be confident. Have high standards. You can do it. Use logic. But listen to your emotions, but not too much. So yeah, y'all, this Virgo season, let's lock in. Let's take our learned lessons from Mercury retrograde and just have a great rest of, I was going to say rest of the year, but obviously we're going to have like more podcasts like before then. But have a great rest of these last couple weeks of summer. I know in some places it's already really starting to feel like fall. Here it was for a sec, but now it's kind of like back to too much. And my camera died. Perf. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening. Let me know what you want me to talk about in next week's episode. Don't forget to share. And I will talk to you guys next time. Bye, everyone.